You've left the house before, maybe for a few hours, maybe for a few days, and at some point you've wondered, even if you didn't say it out loud, does she actually notice I'm gone? Most people answer that question themselves before they even finish asking it. Of course not. She's a chicken. But what if the honest answer is more complicated than that? And what if what happens inside your flock when you leave has been quietly documented by researchers, and it changes everything about what you thought that relationship was? She notices you're gone before you've even left. You know those mornings when you're moving differently, packing a bag, loading the car, breaking your normal routine? You probably didn't think your chickens were paying attention to any of that. They were. According to research on Avian cognition and predictive behavior, chickens build detailed models of their caregiver's routine, including the sequence of movements, the timing of arrivals, and crucially, deviations from established patterns. When your behavior deviates from what they've learned to expect, their nervous systems register the anomaly before you've said a word or stepped outside. That restlessness some keepers notice in their flock on the mornings before they leave for a trip, the increase in alarm vocalizations, the unusual clustering near the coop entrance, that's not coincidence. That's a flock that has learned your patterns well enough to detect when something in those patterns is about to change. Something measurable changes in the flock when you're gone. Here's what most keepers never find out, because they're not there to see it. When the person a flock is bonded with is absent, the behavioral profile of that flock changes in measurable ways. According to research on human-animal relationships in domestic poultry, published in Applied Animal Behavior Science, flocks with strong caregiver bonds show higher rates of vigilance behavior, reduced exploratory activity, and increased stress-related vocalizations during periods when their primary caregiver is absent, compared to periods when that caregiver is present. In other words, when you leave, the flock's threat assessment system shifts. The environmental safety signal that your presence provided, the calm, familiar, trusted presence that told their nervous systems the world was safe, is gone. And in its absence, the baseline anxiety level of the flock rises. This isn't grief the way a dog experiences absence. It's not the same. But it is a measurable, documented, physiological response to the removal of a trusted presence from their environment. And if this is changing the way you think about your relationship with your flock, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps this channel reach more keepers who actually want to understand their birds. She remembers you while you're gone. Here's the one that changes everything, and I'll come back to why this matters more than any other point at the end of the video. Your chicken doesn't forget you when you leave. She can't, because the memory she has built of you isn't a simple association. It's a stored social identity. According to research on avian memory, including a review published in Animal Cognition by Dr. Lori Marino of the Kimmel Center, chickens are capable of maintaining complex social memories of specific individuals for extended periods. These memories include not just visual recognition, but vocal recognition, behavioral patterns, and emotional associations built through repeated positive interaction. What this means practically: the chicken that knew you before you left is the same chicken waiting when you return. The identity she built for you, the auditory signature of your voice, the visual pattern of your movement, the emotional association of your presence with safety is intact. She didn't forget you. She stored you. The reunion response is real. You've seen it. You come back after a few days away, walk up to the coop, and something happens in the flock that doesn't happen when anyone else walks up. They orient toward you. The vocalizations change. Some of them move in your direction in a way that feels specific, directed at you, not just at the general presence of a human. Most keepers write this off as food anticipation, and food is always a factor. But according to ethologists who study social recognition in domestic poultry, the response pattern to a returning familiar caregiver is distinct from the response pattern to feeding cues, and distinct from the response to unfamiliar humans. The difference is in the specificity. An unfamiliar human at the coop triggers either neutral response or mild alert. A familiar caregiver triggers a specific affiliative response, oriented, directed, and calibrated to that individual. She didn't just notice a human arrived, she noticed you arrived. and her response reflects the social identity she has maintained for you in your absence. What she actually experiences when you're gone. This is the question most keepers actually want answered, and the honest answer requires being careful about what the science does and doesn't say. Does your chicken experience something like longing? Something like missing you the way you might miss someone? The honest scientific answer is, we don't fully know, and anyone who tells you definitively either way is going beyond what the research actually supports. What we do know, according to research on emotional states in birds published in Animal Cognition and Behavioral Processes, is that chickens experience measurable affective states, internal states that influence behavior in ways consistent with what we would describe as positive and negative emotional experiences in mammals. We know that the presence of a trusted caregiver is associated with measurably lower arousal states in bonded chickens. We know that absence of that caregiver is associated with measurably higher vigilance and stress indicators. We know that reunion with a familiar individual produces behavioral responses consistent with positive affective states. Whether that constitutes missing in the way you experience missing someone, that remains an open question. But the gap between "she's a chicken, she doesn't care" and what the science actually documents is much larger than most people assume. Some chickens respond to absence more than others. You might have noticed this yourself. In a flock of 6, maybe 1 or 2 chickens seem particularly attuned to your presence. They're the ones that follow you most consistently, the ones that orient toward your voice from the farthest distance, the ones whose behavior changes most noticeably when you return. This isn't random. According to ethologists who study individual variation and social bonding in domestic poultry, chickens show genuine individual differences in attachment style and bonding intensity, and these differences are stable over time. Some chickens form stronger affiliative bonds with specific humans than others. The factors that influence this include early socialization, the frequency and quality of positive interactions, individual personality variation within the flock, and the chicken's position within the flock hierarchy. The chicken that seems to miss you most isn't projecting something onto you. She has formed a stronger individual bond, and the behavioral evidence of that bond is more visible in her responses to your absence and return. What you can do with this information. So your chicken notices when you leave. Something measurable changes in your flock when you're gone. She remembers you while you're away. And when you return, her response reflects a social identity she has maintained for you. What do you actually do with that? First, if you're going to be away, consistency in the substitute caregiver matters. According to research on stress responses in domestic poultry, flocks managed by unfamiliar caregivers during the absence of their primary keeper show higher stress indicators than flocks managed by someone they have had previous positive contact with. If you can, have the person who will care for your flock spend time with them before you leave. Let your flock build a secondary safety association. Second, your return matters more than you've been treating it. The reunion is not just a logistical moment of refilling waters and checking for eggs. It is a social moment for your flock. Walk in calmly, speak first. Give them time to register that you, specifically you, are back. Third, and this is the most important thing, the relationship you've been building with your flock through consistent, calm, present interaction is not a luxury. It is the foundation of their emotional baseline. The flock that has a deeply trusted caregiver recovers faster from stress, maintains lower baseline anxiety, and shows better welfare indicators across every measurable dimension. You are not just a food source to them. You are a safety signal, a social anchor, and, within the limits of what their biology allows, something that functions very much like a trusted presence in their world. Does your chicken miss you when you leave? The honest answer is, something real happens in your flock when you're gone. Something measurable changes. And something real happens when you come back. Whether that's missing in the way the word feels when you use it, science hasn't fully answered that yet. But here's what science has answered. She remembers you. She stored who you are while you were away. And when you walk back through that gate, she knew it was you. Maybe that's enough.